Shocking, Japanese millionaire silenced at dinner, what the waitress daughter revealed at 3 a.m. The restaurant was packed that night, a simple knot of tension weaving through the air like an electric current. The dim lights cast eerie shadows as laughter danced through the crowd, masking a sinister undertone humming beneath the surface. In the corner booth, seated like a king on his throne, was Kenji Takashi, a millionaire known for his deep pockets and deeper secrets. His presence was commanding, people whispered his name in fear and awe. There was something about him that felt dangerous, as if one glance could set off an avalanche of whispers. Just moments before the clock struck midnight, the air grew heavy. The waitstaff moved like ghosts around him, serving fine sake and delicate sushi, unaware of the storm brewing around their high-profile guest. And then, it happened. A split second, a hushed gasp from those nearby. Kenji's face contorted in shock, his eyes wide, reflecting a terror that froze the room. Silence fell like a shroud. What could have caused this sudden shift? A deadly secret? A betrayal hidden beneath layers of politeness. At that precise moment, the waitress's daughter, Lila, a mere teen with wide doe-like eyes, was hidden in the shadows of the back kitchen. She had stumbled upon something horrific, something that felt like a scene snatched from a horror film. The very thought sent tremors racing through her fingertips. She had seen Kenji hunched low, cradling a strange object beneath the table, a glint of metal, sharp as a lie, an artifact of danger buried in the folds of expensive tablecloth. Could it really be? The thought raced through her mind, a palpable lump forming in her throat. The whispers of her mother echoed in her ears, warning her of the sort of people who floated through their lives like phantoms, dangerous, untouchable, yet enticing. She felt her heart pound with a mix of fear and an unyielding urge to piece together this jigsaw of chaos. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The chilling sight of Kenji took hold of her as Lila's mind raced. The panic in the room spiraled, facial expressions shifting from concern to horror as panic set in. Suddenly, an old woman gasped, her voice trembling, he can't be. The weight of collective disbelief seeped through the cracks. Lila had never felt such urgency as she lurked in the shadows, grappling with a decision that could change everything. Every second counted, but the question hung in the air: would she risk everything to reveal the truth, or would she remain silent, burying the weight of knowledge deep inside her? As her fingers trembled and the whispers grew louder, a darkened path loomed ahead, and each choice felt like a step closer to chaos. What would unfold next? What lay beyond the threshold of silence? The tension thickened like fog rolling in, wrapping around the shocked faces staring at Kenji. Time seemed to stretch, each second weighted with dread. Lila could hear her heart thundering in her chest as she peeked around the corner, half hidden behind a stack of empty plates. The diners' faces were frozen in expressions of fear and disbelief, their murmurs intertwining like a twisted melody of horror. As Kenji collapsed against the plush upholstery, his breath came in ragged gasps, his hand clutching that deadly object. Was it a weapon? The sight sped a bolt of terror through Lila. She knew she had to make a choice, but the stakes were higher than ever. Stay hidden and watch life unravel, or step forward and confront the chaos swirling around her. It's a joke, right? A man blurted from the back of the room, his voice shaky, desperate for reassurance. But no one laughed. Their eyes were glued to the scene, their collective breath held tight. Lila's mind raced. If Kenji was indeed in danger, who or what was behind it? She had overheard whispers from the older staff about his dealings, about debts that spiraled out of control, but she hadn't thought much of it. Now, with the $1 million figure faltering before her, the message was clear: the stakes were life and death. Her body nearly moved on instinct. She crept forward, minimizing noise, determined to see the scene up close. As she rounded the booth, the glint of metal caught her eye again. She stepped fully into the light, feeling a switch flick on inside her. If this was a weapon, it needed to be seen. And she couldn't stay quiet any longer, but as she approached, a sharp voice sliced through the air. "Move back. Everyone, get back." It was an authority figure, a security guard, clad in dark blue, pushing through the crowd. Seeing his commanding stance ignited a surge of fear in Lila. Did he know something? Kenji's eyes darted around the table, panic escalating. No, you don't understand," he gasped, his voice weak yet desperate. His entire demeanor shifted from that of an untouchable mogul to a cornered animal. The realization struck Lila like a hammer on glass: whatever was unfolding involved something far more dangerous. Before she could retreat, the guard spotted her. "You! What are you doing here?" he barked, advancing with intimidating purpose. Lila froze. The weight of fear pressed heavily on her shoulders, binding her to the floor. The guard's hard stare felt like an accusation, and for a moment, she doubted herself. What if she had seen something that would only put her in danger? Suddenly, a shriek erupted from the crowd as a waiter dropped a tray, the sound of shattering glass ringing like a death knell. All eyes turned, the chaos threatening to erupt. Kenji seized the moment, attempting to rise, but his body betrayed him, falling back against the booth. Lila's instincts kicked in. She couldn't let this chance slip away. She took a deep breath, the air in her lungs heavy with uncertainty. She stepped forward, determined to uncover the secret, even as more danger surged around her. "Wait!" she shouted, her voice trembling but strong. "He's in trouble." The room hushed. All attention turned back to her, silence hanging thick like smoke. But just as Lila prepared to unveil the truth, something moved in the corner of her eye. A shadow lingered, a figure slipping just outside the doors, someone watching it all unfold. Who were they? And why did it feel like they were tied to the night's dark events? With the crowd holding its breath, Lila faced a new question: was that shadow friend or foe? And what was she about to uncover? Lila's heart raced, pounding against her ribcage like a trapped bird. It was as if the room held its breath, waiting for her to act. She knew one thing: she couldn't let what was left of Kenji's dignity slip away without a fight. He was vulnerable, drowning in panic, and it struck her how close danger lurked. The guard's eyes flicked back to Kenji, his expression shifting from authority to suspicion. "Get him out of here," he barked, urgency lacing his tone. The crowd swelled with collective anxiety, whispers echoing words like mob, money, and danger fluttered through the air like ghosts. Lila stepped closer, but as she did, the shadow at the door shifted again, an unsteady figure, cloaked in darkness. Whoever they were, they weren't done yet. "Stay out of this," the guard yelled, squaring up to her. The fierceness of his gaze made it clear he wouldn't take a backseat to her courage. Yet Lila's instinct kicked in. She wouldn't back down. She couldn't. A deadly silence looped around them like a thread, woven with tensing bodies and shocked stares. The air seemed charged, thick with an unspoken truth. Was she really prepared to confront whatever horror had brought that shadow to the brink? "Tell them the truth, Kenji," she blurted, her voice cutting through, igniting an ember of hope. "You need to tell them why you're in trouble." Suddenly, Kenji's eyes met hers, pools of desperation and a flicker of recognition. "Lila," he gasped, his voice barely above a whisper, drowned by the noise around them. His words fell away, tangled in the fear that clenched his throat. The guard looked like he was about to pull Kenji away, but Lila stood firm. "He's not okay. We can help him." The words spilled from her mouth, fueled by adrenaline. If her shout couldn't pull everyone together, nothing would. Then came a sound, a chime of clinking metal, echoing ominously. Lila turned, her heart dropping as she recognized the glint of what appeared to be a knife sliding from Kenji's hand onto the table, revealing his true weakness. Gasps echoed, the horrified reaction rippling through the room. "Get down!" Someone screamed, voices blending in a startling crescendo of panic. A surge swept through the crowd as bodies pressed against one another, desperate for escape. In that chaos, the figure by the door became more defined, a woman, tall and cloaked in black. Her expression was unreadable. Lila's pulse quickened. Why was she just watching? Did she know more than everyone else? Before Lila could blink, the guard lunged toward Kenji, his hand outstretched. But the mogul recoiled, grabbing the knife and collapsing against the booth once more. "No! I can't go back." The words burst forth, raw and desperate, tearing through Lila's heart. As the crowd erupted into screams, that flicker of recognition from Kenji returned. Their eyes locked again. Who would save him if he fell? Was this all a misunderstanding, or had he truly crossed a line that led to his impending doom? The atmosphere thickened. The woman stood silently, watching, eyes like daggers. What did she know about Kenji's past? What ties did she have with the unfolding drama? Lila weighed her options, face the truth that lay in Kenji's trembling hands, or confront that shadow lurking by the door. With dread pooling in her stomach, she took a deep breath. "You!" she shouted, pointing towards the figure. "Who are you?" Silence. All eyes snapped to the woman, and for the first moment, the chaos paused. The air felt charged, a pause before a storm, and Lila's pulse quickened with the weight of the moment. Just then, the woman stepped into the light. In that instant, Lila's world tilted, for the stranger's face was familiar, intertwined with the fabric of her past. What secrets lay behind those eyes? And would they weave her fate together with Kenji's, or pull her deeper into the abyss? The woman stood there, a ghost from Lila's past, her features strikingly sharp in the muted light. It took mere seconds for recognition to crash like a crashing wave against Lila's mind. This wasn't just any shadow. This was May, a childhood friend turned rival in a life they had both long left behind. May, Lila breathed, the name like ice on her tongue. The crowd gasped, bewildered whispers enveloping them, but all Lila could focus on was the woman's steely gaze. "You shouldn't have come here," May said, her voice smooth yet laced with something darker. "You don't know what's at stake." "What's at stake?" Lila shot back, her heart pounding wildly. Kenji flinched beside her, still clutching that damn knife. "What have you done, May?" A flicker of amusement danced across May's face, but it faded just as quickly. "You think you can save him?" "He's already lost," she said. "We all are." Lila couldn't let that statement settle. "No. This isn't over. Not yet." She turned back to Kenji, who looked like he was trapped in a nightmare, eyes darting from Lila to May and back again. "Lila," Kenji's voice trembled, the knife slipping slightly from his grip. "You don't know what's happening. You need to leave." But she shook her head. There was no way she would abandon him, not while danger simmered, glistening just beneath the surface. The guard stepped closer, clearly on edge, ready to pounce at the first sign of chaos. "Why are you here, May?" Lila demanded again. "You're not just going to watch this unfold, are you?" May's lips curled into a knowing smile. "I'm here for the show, Lila. And, whether you like it or not, you're part of it," she said, emphasizing each word, letting them hang thick in the air. "You and your heroic tendencies. What does that even mean?" Lila shouted, adrenaline surging. "Stop playing games." May took a step toward the front of the crowd, the intensity of her presence commanding attention. "This man has made enemies," she said, pointing a finger at Kenji. "Not just anyone, but powerful people who can erase him. And you're standing in the way." The room seemed to tilt as the atmosphere shifted drastically. All those eyes now shot daggers at Lila. The whispers escalated, and panic hung like a noose around her neck. She was being judged. For trying to protect Kenji? For daring to care? No. The sweet despair dripped from Kenji's voice, his grip tightening on the knife. I want to let them take me again. Just then, the guard lunged. Lila's instinct screamed for action as she surged forward, blocking the guard from reaching Kenji. The moment hung, taut and quivering, as if the world had slowed down. She searched Kenji's eyes, depths of fear and resolve swimming beneath the surface. Would he fight back? Would May stand idle as tongue-tied witnesses rounded on them? Lila. Kenji rasped, desperation clawing through his words. We're out of time. A sudden crash echoed from behind them, the door slamming as more people rushed in. The chaos had erupted again, confusion blending with panic as new players entered the scene. May's eyes flicked to the new arrivals, a shadow of satisfaction crossing her face. Now, it seems it's just getting interesting, she murmured under her breath. With the threat escalating, Lila felt the weight of her choices compressing around her. The room felt too small, their fates intertwining like the threads of a twisted tapestry. Who was Kenji really? And what were the consequences of confronting that truth? As the urgency in the air heightened, Lila made her choice. If you want to take him, you'll have to go through me first. She shouted, defiant. And at that moment, the stakes intensified, each heartbeat echoing with unfulfilled promises. What awaited them in the enveloping darkness? Would courage be enough when the world outside threatened to collapse? Chaos erupted as the new arrivals flooded the room. Faces flashed in the dim light, some fearful, others curious, but all eyes fixated on the tense standoff. The guard hesitated, the authority in his stance cracking under the weight of uncertainty. Let him go, barked a voice from the new group, sharp and commanding. It was a man with a broad frame, muscles taut beneath his tailored suit. His jaw clenched as he stepped forward, finger raised. This isn't how it needs to end. Who do you think you are? May shot back, her voice cool but tinged with threat. I'm someone who knows how dangerous this can get, the man replied, eyes darting to Kenji, blade trembling in his hand. You're playing a risky game, May. Lila felt a rush of hope surging like a fire in her chest. Maybe this man could help them. Maybe he could defuse the situation. But the flicker of possibility was quickly snuffed by the harsh reality around her. Kenji's face twisted with anguish. No. He grit out, his grip on the knife faltering. I want to go with them. Don't you see, Kenji? May's voice sliced through the air like a dagger. They're not your friends. You think this man will save you? You're already in their crosshairs. The crowd, a mixture of onlookers and loyalty, gasped, their attention split between the three figures on the stage and the man with the authority to intervene. Whispers erupted again, uncertainty gripped them, and panic swirled like a tempest. Enough. The suited man barked, stepping closer. Whatever happened in the past doesn't matter now. We need to think about what's at stake. I came here for you, Kenji. Kenji's eyes widened, confusion battling with desperation. What do you mean, you came for me? May chuckled, a sound filled with derision, but Lila couldn't take her eyes off Kenji. His inner conflict raged within him, the pull of safety and survival warring against the choices he had made. Kenji, trust him. Lila shouted, her own heart racing as the seconds ticked away. Don't let them take you. Fight back. The guard was still ready to pounce. Anxiety radiated off the other onlookers, some stepping back as if the tension could finally explode. Fear had become an entity of its own. Lila, Kenji's voice cracked, a glimpse of vulnerability draining the anger from his stance. I didn't now isn't the time for regrets, May interrupted, her expression shifting. You need to remember who you really are. Embrace it, or lose everything. Suddenly, with a swift gesture, she beckoned to the men who had just arrived. Take him. She commanded, her words spilling like poison. Lila's heart dropped, adrenaline crashed through her veins. No. She lunged forward just as the guard moved, the ground beneath her feet felt shaky. Get away from him. Then, as if time had suddenly cascaded into a blur, hands reached out. A struggle ensued, the knife slipped from Kenji's grip, clattering against the floor, a resounding note of defeat reverberating through the silence that followed. The man in the suit reached for Kenji, his expression firm yet desperate. We can explain everything, but you have to trust me. Lila shoved against the guard, desperate to protect Kenji as a storm brewed in the eyes of everyone around them. Don't let them take you. She screamed, not just for Kenji, but for everyone trapped in this sinister web. The world spun, emotions twisted into a wild dance, betrayal and loyalty intertwining. Whispers of uncertainty filled the air, and as chaos reigned, a dreaded realization hit Lila. This was more than just a desperate fight for Kenji, it was a fight for truth, a fight against forces lurking just beyond the shadows. What were they willing to sacrifice to uncover the reality of Kenji's past? And would it lead them to salvation or doom? Lila felt the world tilt around her as Kenji's pained expression haunted her like a specter. She could see the suited man moving closer, his determination palpable, but the looming threat of May and her group felt heavier, a darkness closing in. No! Don't touch him! She yelled, fear clawing at her throat as she stepped between Kenji and the advancing figures. The guard's hand twitched, ready to act on instinct. Tension crackled like electricity in the air. Kenji was trapped, and Lila knew it. The dread settled deep within her, a cold weight that suffocated. Listen, Kenji. The urgency came pouring out of her, desperate to break through the chaos. If you go with him, they'll control everything. You have to fight back, for all our sakes. Behind her, May sneered, a predator smelling blood. Her eyes glimmered as she motioned to her crew. What's the hold-up? Take the boy. Her voice was menacing, turning the crowd into an audience of fear and anticipation. Step back. The man shouted, his voice devoid of the calm now. We're not your enemy. We're here to keep you safe, Kenji. But how could Kenji trust him? Lila could see in his eyes that he was caught, the fear of the unknown battling against the familiar poison of May's influence. In that sliver of hesitation lay the razor-thin line between freedom and chains. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the back, an older man with a slight limp. The crowd parted for him, eyes widening. He carried an air of authority that silenced the room. May, he said, his voice halting yet firm. You're making a mistake. The surprise hit like a punch. It was Fumio, Kenji's estranged father. Lila's heart raced as memories flooded her mind. The stories she'd overheard, whispered rumors of betrayal and guilt. Hadn't they said Fumio was lost? Father? Kenji's voice trembled, confusion and hope threading together. Listen to me, son. You must remember who you are. They want to subjugate you, but you have the strength to resist. Don't let them twist it. Fumio took a step closer, his eyes locked onto Kenji's, battling through layers of hurt and mistrust. The crowd buzzed with intrigue and fear, each whispered conversation dipping in and out, fragmented pieces forming a chaotic quilt of emotions. Enough of this family reunion. May spat, fury igniting in her gaze. You're both wasting time. Grab him. Lila's instinct kicked in. She couldn't let May win, she couldn't let Kenji be dragged into the abyss. With a surge of adrenaline, she lunged forward again, aiming to grab Kenji's hand, to pull him from the clutches of inevitability. In that moment, everything seemed to pause. The breath of the crowd hung in the air, every pulse matched the ticking clock of fate. Kenji hesitated, eyes locked between the two specters of his life, but Lila held the warmth of desperate hope in her grip. Choose. She yelled, her heart pounding like a drum, each beat a plea. Choose your own future. Don't let them take you. Then it happened. Kenji's resolve forged into steel, igniting as he stepped forward, pulling away from Mei's grasp. The knife lay forgotten, a symbol of the battle ahead, but now, a fire blazed in his eyes. "I want to go with you," he declared, voice ringing clear and strong. But before the celebration could begin, a sound echoed through the room, a loud crash from the back, a startling fracture of normalcy as the door shattered, drawing every eye to the chaos unfolding behind them. Figures emerged, dark silhouettes against the light, and one shadow stepped forward, brandishing an object. In that instant, all hope teetered on the brink of disaster. What had they just unleashed, and would it seal Kenji's fate, or empower him in ways they all feared to imagine? Before anyone could react, the figure stepped into the dim light, revealing herself. It was Ikumi, Kenji's childhood friend. The last time they had seen each other, they were laughing together, the weight of the world far from their minds. Now, her hands trembled as she brandished a small device that glimmered ominously. "That's enough," she shouted, her voice cracking. "Everyone, step back or the threat hung heavy in the air." The crowd stilled, curiosity dancing with apprehension in their eyes. Lila's heart raced. Ikumi, with all her gentle demeanor, now seemed desperate, almost feral under pressure. "What are you doing?" Kenji's voice rose, confusion rippling through him. "Put it down." "No. You don't understand," Ikumi cried, her eyes darting. "If they take you, they won't just control you. They'll control everyone. This device, it can free you, Kenji. It's our only chance." Lila's chest tightened. She'd never seen Ikumi like this, unstable and reckless. Yet, deep down, a flicker of something, a beacon of hope, told her to trust the girl. Could this tiny device hold the key to their freedom? "Mei, it's over," Ikumi declared defiantly, turning her gaze toward the ominous leader. "You can't win. We have the power to stop you." Mei's laughter filled the room, sharp and biting. "You think that thing can change anything? It's a toy, dear. You're playing with lives you don't understand." Behind Mei, her crew shifted, eyes narrowing, ready to strike. Tension thickened, and the air felt electric, alive with unspoken fears and urgent choices. "Stop this!" Lila shouted suddenly, hoping to redirect the growing chaos. "We're all scared, but this fighting leads us nowhere. We need to work together." "Together?" Mei spat, anger burning through her tone. "You really think this ends in friendship and rainbows?" The crowd hesitated, whispers rippling through the assembly like a warning breeze. Kenji's hands clenched into fists. He could feel the storm brewing and knew he had to act. "Lila!" Kenji suddenly called, fear fueling his voice. "What if she's right? What if we don't have a choice?" Every eye darted to him, confusion and determination swirling. Kenji stood at the center, a man teetering on the line between two worlds, one where he would be free, and the other where darkness would consume him. "Ikumi," he began, his voice wavering, searching for clarity in the chaos. "What does this device do?" "It can hack their systems. It'll expose Mei and her group for who they truly are." Ikumi's voice was urgent, fighting back tears. "They've manipulated everything. We can fight back together." "Enough!" Mei thundered, her fury flaring. "This has gone on long enough. Grab them." Suddenly, chaos erupted. The suited men surged forward, their intentions clear. Lila's heart dropped, adrenaline surging in her veins. "Run!" she screamed, grabbing Kenji's hand. But Ikumi remained, gripping the device tightly, determination carved across her face. "Go! I'll hold them off." "No! We can't leave you!" Kenji protested, terror in his eyes. But as shouts and shouting filled the room, Ikumi looked at him with fierce resolve. "You have to trust me. You have to fight for what's right. Get out." With that, she stepped forward, the device raised defiantly like a shield. As the suits closed in, Lila pulled Kenji toward the exit. We have to move. Now. With every step toward safety, echoes of chaos followed behind them. They pushed through a door, but questions gnawed at Kenji's mind. Had they made the right choice? With Ikumi staying back, would either of them experience true freedom? Outside, the world spun in a blur, sounds of chaos fading behind them, and all Kenji could think about was the moment they left Ikumi behind. What awaited them in the next moment? And would they ever return to save her? The air felt different outside, thicker, charged with uncertainty. Kenji barely registered the chill of the night wrapping around him and Lila as they stumbled into the street. Their eyes darted around, scanning the shadowy corners for any sign of pursuers, hearts pounding like war drums in their chests. Each footfall echoed their fear, Ikumi's choice replaying in Kenji's mind like the worst kind of nightmare. Did we just leave her? Kenji's voice was barely a whisper, hollow with dread. What if we can't go back? Lila gripped his arm, her eyes fierce, yet soft enough to beckon him back from the edge of panic. We had to, Kenji. If we stayed, we'd all be in danger. We need to find a way to help her, but we can't do it here, out in the open. As they dashed down the alley, shadows swallowed them whole, a suit of darkness shielding their desperation. Kenji's thoughts spiraled. Was Ikumi right? Did that device hold the power to destroy Mei's control? And as for Mei, her twisted laughter haunted him, promising chaos and authority. His fists clenched tighter as doubt warred with hope. What's the plan? Lila asked, panting as they paused to catch their breath. The alley smelled of damp concrete and impending rain. I don't know, Kenji admitted, frustration boiling over. She said the device could expose everything. Perhaps if we could figure out how it works, find the location or a way to communicate with her. First, we need to get somewhere safe. Lila scanned the darkness. We can use my place. It's not far. Nodding, they pressed on, adrenaline fueling their steps. Kenji wondered if Ikumi was fending off the suits alone. What had she unleashed in that room? Every imagined scenario nagged at him. Everything felt like spinning plates on the verge of shattering as they reached Lila's apartment. The dim light within beckoned like an oasis after a long trek through a dangerous desert. When the door clicked shut behind them, relief washed over Kenji, but unease lingered like an unwelcome guest. Inside, Lila hurried to the window, peering through the curtains. Let us hope we didn't draw attention. Did you really think we could outrun them? He said bitterly, guilt gnawing at him. We shouldn't have left Ikumi. We'll figure this out, Lila insisted, her voice steady but laced with urgency. Tell me what you remember about the device. Anything can help. Kenji paced, anxiety burrowing deep in his gut. He struggled to recall details over the echo of chaos they escaped. It looked like a small tablet, sleek, with a glowing button in the middle. It felt powerful, almost like it thrummed against my touch. Could you use your phone to search for anything related? Lila's brow furrowed. Maybe if we can find out how it works, we can send a message. Contact her? Okay, but his words trailed off, a haunting thought striking him. What if Mei finds us first? Fear spiked through him as he realized their precarious position. Then we fight back. As Kenji fumbled for his phone in his pocket, the power flickered, plunging the apartment into brief darkness before flickering back on. His breath hitched. What was that? Lila froze, her eyes wide. Could it be? Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed from the stairwell, deliberate and heavy. They weren't alone. Kenji's heart plummeted. They've found us. He shoved his phone into his pocket and grabbed Lila's hand, ready to bolt, but it was too late. A loud banging came at the door, followed by a voice that sent shivers down his spine. Mei's voice, sharp and taunting. Open up. We know you're in there. You can't run forever. Panic exploded in their chests. Kenji's mind raced, clashing thoughts of escape versus confrontation. There was no way out. What would they do next? Would they face May's wrath together, or could they find another way to save Ikumi before it was too late? The door rattled like thunder under May's relentless pounding. Kenji's heart raced. He could almost feel the cracks forming in his resolve. The air in the cramped apartment thickened as dread settled over them. Think, Kenji. We have to stay calm, Lila urged, her voice slicing through his panic. What's our best option? The pounding echoed again, more ferociously this time, like fists of doom. Panic clawed at him, but he forced out a response: we can't let her catch us. Find something to barricade the door. Lila darted to the kitchen, her breath quickening, while Kenji's mind screamed for clarity. He snatched a chair and wedged it against the doorknob, but it felt barely sufficient against the storm outside. As he returned to the window, the faint glow of city lights through the curtains felt like prison bars, trapping them in a small world of fear. Kenji! Lila shouted from the kitchen. I found a pot. We can use it to block. The door fell open with a splintering crash, adrenaline hitting them like a jolt of electricity. May stood silhouetted in the doorway, flanked by two grim-looking suits, smirking like a predator relishing its hunt. Well, what a cozy gathering, she taunted, her voice smooth yet dripping with malice. I thought you'd have more fight in you. Kenji instinctively stepped in front of Lila, urgency churning within him. The last thing he wanted was to see her in harm's way. Get the device. He yelled, the words erupting from his lips. If we can find a way to use it, shut up. May snapped, her gaze sharper than a knife. You think you can outsmart me, Kenji? You're still playing the pawn, and look where that's gotten you. Her cold smile spread, sending chills curling down his spine. Behind May, the suits advanced, blocking the path to the exit. The air felt electric, every fiber of his being screaming either to fight or flee. Yet where would they run? Stop or I'll smash something. Kenji's voice cracked, desperation rising. He felt foolish threatening with only half-hearted resolve, knowing full well their precarious situation. Lila's eyes darted to the kitchen, a plan forming in her mind. Without warning, she lunged for a bottle of cooking oil, brandishing it like a weapon. Get back! She shouted, her voice cracking but echoing with defiance. May's laughter rang out, harsh and mocking. You think a small bottle will deter me? You misunderstand the game. She gestured to her companions, and they stepped forward, menacingly slow. Kenji's pulse quickened. No more time. Lila, run! He yelled. In that electric moment, May's eyes narrowed, the smug smile fading slightly. After them! She barked. Kenji and Lila bolted toward the back hallway, their feet thundering on the floor, a primal instinct to survive pulling them forward. Fear propelled them into the unknown, but the weight of Ikumi's fate hung over them like a guillotine. Where do we go? Lila gasped, glancing back as they turned a corner. I don't know. Maybe the fire escape? He shouted, desperation taut in his voice. Each step felt heavier, the knowledge that they were running blind gnawing at his resolve. They reached the ages-old iron ladder, its paint chipped and rusty under their anxious fingers. As they clambered down, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were just delaying the inevitable. What next? Lila whispered as they reached ground level, glancing around for any signs of safety. There's a cafe around the block. If we can make it there, we can regroup, Kenji suggested, hope swelling against the tide of dread. But just as they took their first step onto the street, a low hum filled the air, metallic and ominous. Kenji's gut twisted. He turned, eyes wide as lights swept through the fog of night. A convoy of black SUVs rolling to a stop at the alley's mouth. May's voice caressed the night, cruel and commanding. Better luck next time, kids. With nowhere to escape, Kenji's thoughts turned dark. They were trapped. Would they have to face May and her merciless gang? His heart raced. The stakes surged, and so did the urgency to find answers. Would they find a way to save Ikumi after all, or were they destined to join her in captivity? He squeezed Lila's hand, a silent promise to fight against the tides of fate. A pulse of determination surged through him. They might yet turn the tide, if they could survive this storm. The world outside the cafe spun like a tornado as Kenji and Lila pressed against the back wall, hearts thundering. They had barely escaped May's grasp, and now, with the SUVs looming like vultures, precious seconds slipped through their fingers. Desperation clawed at Kenji's throat. Every moment felt like a countdown to disaster. Think, Kenji. What can we do? Lila whispered fiercely, her eyes darting around, searching for anything that could offer a glimmer of salvation. He could see the panic mirrored in her expression, framing both their dread. If we can create a diversion, we might buy ourselves enough time. What do you have in mind? Lila asked, her voice barely above a whisper, energy taut between them. Those delivery boxes. Kenji exclaimed, pointing to a stack left carelessly by the cafe entrance. We can tip them over to block the road and cause a distraction. It might be enough to slip away. Before he could second-guess himself, Kenji bolted toward the boxes, adrenaline fueling his determination. The moment he reached them, he flipped one over, the clatter ringing out like a gunshot in the quiet night, drawing the attention of the SUVs parked outside. Now! He yelled, beckoning Lila just as he worked to topple another box. The sound echoed, amplifying their chances for escape. Lila rushed to his side, helping with the boxes as they fell with loud thuds that broke the tense silence. They scrambled behind the makeshift barricade, hearts racing, fear electrifying the air. Go, go! Kenji urged, peering around the edge of the boxes to see the chaos ensuing at the street's mouth. Several figures emerged from the SUVs, moving towards the din, the shadow swallowing them whole. Springs of hope surged in Kenji's chest as he grabbed Lila's hand. This way, he said, leading her through a narrow alley that hugged the side of the cafe. The shadows embraced them, granting a fleeting sense of safety as they turned a corner. Slipping out of sight, they ran, breathless and wild, enveloped in darkness. But their escape was short-lived. As they rounded another bend, they skidded to a halt, blocks stretched ahead, but the eerie calm felt tainted. Kenji's instincts screamed that something wasn't right. Where to now? Lila panted, eyes wide, glancing rapidly around for danger. We need to find a place with people. Maybe a public space, he suggested, scanning their surroundings. Then he spotted an all-night diner bathed in warm light. It felt inviting, a beacon against the madness closing in. They sprinted forward, pushing through the glass doors. A bell jingled above them, but the comfort of the diner was overwhelmed by the gravity of their situation. The crowd inside was oblivious to the chaos brewing outside, but Kenji knew better. It wouldn't be long before May's men realized their escape. Lila slid into a booth, her expression fierce despite the weariness weighing her down. We can't stay here long, she stated, her voice steady. What's the plan? Kenji took a deep breath, piecing together the threads of their mission. We need to contact Ikumi. If she has that device, we can't let it fall into May's hands. We have to find a way to reach her. No more running, Lila insisted. We stand and fight. We get the truth out. He found strength in her resolve. It was contagious. You're right. We need to rally everyone. The patrons here, they have families, jobs, lives. We can't let May control this city. Determination solidified within him, and he felt the weight of choice settle into his chest, but before they could act, the diner's door swung open again, the bell clanging. Kenji's heart sunk as May stepped inside, flanked by her men. Kenji's chest tightened, the air whooshing from his lungs like a collapsing star. The diner's atmosphere shifted, tension spiraling as customers turned towards the unmistakable threat. Run! Lila shouted. No! Kenji yelled. We stand. It's time to end this once and for all. Determined, he rose, facing May, who smirked with genuine delight, relishing the fear. "Ah, my little runaway. Did you really think you could escape me?" Her words dripped with venom. "Why are you doing this?" Kenji shouted, his voice rising above the din of panic. "Is control worth more than lives? It's about power, Kenji. Control is everything." May's cold smile didn't waver. "And you? You're merely a pawn, just like your father." He stiffened at the mention of Fumio, fury blooming inside him. "You don't get to use me as a tool any longer." As the tension surged, Kenji's words ignited a spark in the patrons, who rose in solidarity, the power of their collective presence burning brighter. "We won, stand down!" A diner shouted, and the resolve rippled through. "Together!" Lila urged, joining hands with strangers, defiance electrifying each soul, the diner becoming an unlikely fortress of hope. "Enough!" May screamed, her eyes blazing with fury, but Kenji stepped forward, heart racing, ready to confront the embodiment of their nightmare. "Let us end this," he declared, fists clenched. "Whatever it takes." In that moment, they were ready, armed with the unyielding courage forged in battle. And with the diner behind him, Kenji was no longer afraid of losing what had once defined him. The power battle had only just begun, but now, they had a chance: the strength of unity, the truth, and the relentless will to fight for a brighter future. They faced their destiny, ready to discover who would rise from those flames or fall beneath their scorching weight. With a united front, they braced for the storm as it approached, knowing that this was the moment everything would change. Will you stand with them? Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this story ends. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.